Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 2 of Ramblings from Meddling Kids. I am one of your hosts, Edward Hunt, and with me is
Mike Cunningham.
And we're reviewing Mad Max Fury Road. So, for those of us just joining, what we do in this podcast is we're going to review a movie. So what we'll do is we'll give you a spoiler-free review. That way, if you haven't seen it yet and you still are thinking, oh, should I go? Should I not go? We'll just tell you our thoughts because we'd like to think they mean something. And from there, we'll give you a summary. Then we'll go in from a play-by-play from start to finish. Like basically, we'd like to describe it like you were in the theater. And then we'll finish with an outro. So, Mike, you ready for a spoiler-free review?
That I am.
Awesome. So I'll start us off. Honestly, Mad Max Fury Road is about as close to a 5 out of 5 as I think you can give a movie. It's phenomenal from start to finish. As an action movie especially, you have amazing sequences, you have phenomenal visual effects, you have great acting, and you are really put into this world. You are really, honestly, I hope the end of the world doesn't happen, but if it's going to be this one, it kind of makes sense to me. That is how vivid of a picture that he's able to paint here. Mike, how about you?
I agree. Definitely a 5 out of 5. Talking about the visuals, it makes sense. It was like it won 6 Oscars, mainly, and all on production, hair design, makeup, sound mixing. So it makes sense that you do get that feel of being in a post-apocalyptic world. Mm-hmm. Everything's very gritty, grimy. Yeah. Obviously, the acting performances were great. You have Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. Just amazing. Nicholas Hoult, I believe. Yep. Hoult, something like that.
Absolutely. That's nuts.
He was great. I don't know. It was just an amazing film, mm-hmm. All around. So definitely recommend.
And don't forget Zoe Kravitz. She also did very
good.
How dare you?
How do I forget my future wife involved?
I'm just saying. But yeah. So before we really head into our summary and our play-by-play, a quick word from our sponsors. As many of you may know, I am a real estate agent and I work with the Just Be team, who we are all about finding a place where you're meant to be. Personally, we are licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So if you have any questions at all about how to buy or sell a home, feel free. Please reach out to me or us to Meddling Kids at any point in time. Or if you're not in the DMV, but you are anywhere else in the country, a great thing about my team is we have connections all over the country. So I can help answer any questions you may have, and I can make sure we can hook you up with any very amazing real estate professional. All right, Mike, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
All right. Can you give us a summary?
Okay. Plot summary for Mad Max Fury Road. So to start off, it is the 4th in the saga for Mad Max. It is also like a reboot, mm-hmm. Because originally the character was played by Mel Gibson in the first 3 films. Yep. And then this one you have Mad Max being played by Tom Hardy. So the summary is, in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a woman rebels against a tyrannical ruler in search for her homeland. With the aid of a group of women prisoners, mm-hmm. A psychotic worshiper of the tyrannical ruler, and a drifter simply named Max. And that is where we start our story for Mad Max Fury Road.
Perfect. Before we actually start doing the play-by-play, did you know there was a lot of beef on set?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think this is one of the kind of Hollywood secrets, I guess, or something like that. It was like the production behind this was definitely, there was very tumultuous between the leads, Charlize and Tom Hardy. Yeah, absolutely. Apparently it got so bad that Charlize Theron was like, yo, I need a producer with me whenever I'm on set. There was a little bit of mess up with that because George, the director, known by George. But I call Marco Scorsese Marty. So
there you go. Yeah. But he was just like, look, we can't be having all these random people on set. I need to have my vision. But it got bad at times. I think I was reading a lot about this week when I watched the movie. Tom Hardy might show up a little late. Charlize Theron would then just explode at him, and it was back and forth. But they were filming in a desert for 6 months. Mm-hmm. It was basically they were as close to the source material as they could get while still living. Obviously, they had trailers, but other than that, they're like, oh, it's hot. We have no water. This is terrible. And I think that really had Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron just bumping heads constantly.
That's like Hitchcockian, where because he was infamously known for putting especially the actresses, mm-hmm. Through kind of hell, something like that. But yeah, that's crazy.
Which is rough. All right. Well, All right, but now for our play-by-play. So it opens up with a narration by Tom Hardy. And he's just actually opens up with this bloodstained Warner Brothers logo and all these like Paramount, everything's just bloodstained, gritty. And like, that's 2 seconds into this. You're like, oh crap. Okay. Like it feels it. And that was like talking about like world building. You really feel like this is a fleshed out world. And I think from the get-go, having that shows that they're like, no, this is life now. But yeah, then we get to Tom Hardy. He's narrating over everything. He's staring out over the desert. There's this little lizard that's going across.
Two-headed, actually.
Yeah, this two-headed radiation lizard. Because, background of the story as well. It's after nuclear war. So there's no gasoline, or there's very little gasoline, very little resources. Scavengers, raiders, everyone are just going across the land. And Mad Max has, after all the past movies, he feels he's a haunted man.
Yes.
There's countless people he has failed to save, and he's getting these visions of them, and he's mentioning that. But it opens again with that two little headed lizard, and it crawls right next to him, and Max is like, stomp grab, and just, out of nowhere, I'm like, okay, this is the movie we're in for. Buckle up. All of a sudden from there, Max realizes, like, he's like doing this while narrating, and then he like looks over his shoulder and he's like, oh crap. And he's just chucking all of this stuff into his car and he just takes off. Yeah. Then from there, you just raiders. So this is again, a minute or two into the movie, you're thrust into this world. He's now driving away for his life. Trying to survive these raiders, and they crash his car, they grab him. And it just has this amazing line from it. When he's crawling out of the wreckage of the car, he's, oh crap, where was it? I'm sorry. He's like, I am the one who runs from the living and the dead. I'm hunted by scavengers and haunted by the ones who I couldn't save. And then, bam, Mad Max Fury Road just clongs right into you right there. Mike?
So from there, he's captured and taken to the Citadel, which is run by this the tyrannical ruler named Immortum Joe. And he's tied up and he's marked as a universal donor. So I think what they do is they catch people, and basically if they don't kill them, they just use them as blood bags for surgeries, for if you need I guess organs or blood or something like that. So they put a tattoo on his back because that's the only way to mark him. I guess they don't have medical charts.
No, not anymore. No, this is like 30 years after nuclear war, man. It's just
so like they mark him as a universal donor, and then they just they go to brand him, and then that's what he's like. That is enough.
Yeah. He's like, you can shave my head. I needed a haircut. I get it. Because he's just
he's like, you can tie me up. Okay, everybody has a kink. Right. Tattoo my back. I like a little pain.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine.
But he was like, as soon as they went to brand him, he was like, all right, that's enough. So he breaks out, and it's once again back to the action, right? So, it starts off where he's being chased in the car. Then he gets captured. Then he's captured, and then he breaks free, and it's him on another chase. And now he's running through the Citadel. And it's like, you just get more ideas of this world where, like, there's, like, they're fixing his car, like, the different cars.
Yep, absolutely.
And then he kind of gets captured and fights his way out, and then he gets to like a cliff. And without even thinking, this is what I love about like and understanding like the world that you're in. It was like there is no hesitation to a lot of actions.
Yeah, no, not
at all. Like it's insane. It was just like no, we doing this right now.
Yeah.
So he gets to the cliff and immediately jumps, and because there's a hook, his hands are chained. So he like hangs on. And then, but it immediately gets grabbed back. And now he's like, kind of locked in a cage until he's needed.
Pause right there really quick, just because when he was going through. So and I failed to mention this earlier. He's getting these flashes when he talks about he's haunted by the people he can't save. He's getting these flashes, right? There's this little ghost girl who like pops up, and then he's even seeing other characters. So I had this thought. Because they look pretty angry. They're like, why are you running, Max? Stop running, Max. Leave us. Like, why did you leave us? But while he's running and he's like breaking free and he's running, before he gets to the cliff, because he doesn't realize it's a cliff, it's this big door, right? It's this big door here. He's running up. He starts getting all these visions of the ghosts who are like, hey, stop running, stop running. Are they trying to save him?
Yeah, well, I think since there are projections in his mind, like you said, they look mad at him. I think that is his perception of them, but not how they actually are. Yeah. Right. Because just because he couldn't save them doesn't mean that, and I mean, what are you going to do? So it might be I think it's a mix of both, where it's like he sees them as angry. Yeah. but that's just how his perception.
Yeah. And it was further reinforced for me because we'll talk about it later when we get to that part, but
Yeah,
right. And then
exactly.
we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's when I saw that and then thought about the ghost in the beginning, because again, he didn't know he was about to fall off a cliff when he like opened those doors, because he was running, and then because of all the ghosts, he slowed down to like wave his hands in front of him. Then he pushed the doors open, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, that's a cliff. And you just see this entire world. That's the Citadel. You see all their stuff going down. But as Mike was saying, Mad Max is a survivor, man.
Yeah.
He's like,
I think, well, that's what he even said. Talk about the quotes from when he got captured. It was just like his only like when he packed up his car to run from them. He said, "My only means is just to survive." I think that's just this world that you're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets captured, and
dragged back.
Now he's dragged back, and he's in a cage until he's needed. And then you get introduced to both Furiosa. It's interesting, like to Furiosa and Immortum Joe. So Furiosa is one of his, like, is it her Imperator?
Imperator Furiosa.
Yeah. So she's like going on a run to collect gasoline and bullets.
Guzzaline.
Guzzaline?
Guzzaline's what they call it, guzzaline. And they don't have water
from
here.
the before 4 times?
Yeah, from the before 4 times and the long ago. They have guzzaline, and they don't have water. They have aqua-cola. That's their thing. Yeah.
I mean, well, Coca-Cola has to have his hands on it.
Yeah, exactly. Dasani. I mean, aqua-cola. That's refreshing.
But yeah, so you get introduced to Furiosa. She's on, like, they're loading up her her rig to take on this trip, and then you also get introduced to Immortum Joe.
Yep.
And he is like the ruler, but it's interesting. Like, he's getting like different powders put on him. He's like, there's a whole apparatus that he has to put on his body.
He can't breathe without
this mask. So it's just like, he is very much like, it's weird how weak he is and how strong he is because he has power over the water.
Yeah.
So as you he kind of sees her off. So like he goes to to his like little stage, and he gives a speech about how he's sending her off, and then he releases this valve.
Yeah.
And it was like water is released, and as we said, how gritty this world is. They saw him about to give a speech, so they knew that he was going to give them water.
Yeah, give them some water.
So that's how he rules all of them, because he has he has the water. So the man with the water has all the power.
Because there are all these. So Immortum Joe has these war boys, right? And those are his warlords, and those are all of his people that follow him. Yeah. And he has this crazy cult where they will all go to Valhalla as long as they follow him. So that's one class. And Furiosa has gotten to the top of that class. She is like the second under Joe. I'd say she's probably like in command, right? Like she's probably one of his like right or left hands. It kind of seems like.
Well, other than the big
Rictus,
Stone Cold Steve hosting.
Rictus, yeah, Stone Cold Steve, yeah. So Rictus, so Immortum Joe has his sons. Goldberg, yeah. So he has his sons. There's Rictus, who is a huge muscle-bound guy, but lacks a lot mentally, to say the least. And then Rictus's other son is the little person in the chair, who is very smart and handles a lot of strategy and like looking at stuff, but he is incapable of doing anything because he is completely immobilized in this chair. So he has his 2 sons, but as like one of the imperators being sent out on these jobs, I think Furiosa has worked her way up to be like, like here's Joe, here are his sons, and then here's like Furiosa and anyone else.
Especially when you find out that she's not from there. Too.
Yes.
So it's just like she's definitely made her way up in the ranks. Yeah. So like he gives the masses water for a bit. It must have been like maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds of water or whatever.
I think all the people below him, his subjects, are all, and a lot of them are like also physically disabled, and they're all just super. Like, they survived the nuclear war, so they bear the scars of surviving a nuclear war, and yet he's giving them water.
And then so after that, she rides off, and then we get kind of introduced to Nux a bit. He's one of our kind of
a war boy. Yep.
And kind of our lens into that world. And so he's very weak after one of their last raids, and so he needs blood. And they not tie him up, but they link him with Max because he's a universal donor. Yeah. And then Furiosa is off into the onto like Bullet Town, I believe.
She's going to she's getting guzzaline from Gas Town, and then she's going to the Bullet Farm.
She's on her way to Gas Town, and she makes a detour.
Yeah, because so also with Immortum Joe, what he has aqua-cola, water, and
Mother's milk, yes.
And you see that too of come on here, like there are breeders. I mean,
Yeah.
and these are like 30 women who all they do is give birth to babies and get milked. Like they are attached to milking apparatuses like cows. And it's crazy. Like you watch this, and it's talking with world building. You watch this, and you're like, "Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, for sure. That's how it works in this
world." They have to walk you through it. It's just like you see it, you get it.
Yeah, exactly. You see it, you get it. Cool. Yep, I get it. Milk for sure. We don't got cows anymore, so we need milk. All right, this is what we got. So Furiosa, sorry, tangent. Furiosa takes a detour.
So she takes a detour. One of her guys is asking, because it was like there's a whole caravan, right?
Yes.
So she has the big rig that's I was going to carry all this stuff, and then I think 3 or 4 kind of spotter cars or whatever it is. So like he's asking what's going on, and she's just saying, just taking a detour, being very vague. Yeah, and then but
he listens. She's got clout.
Exactly,
she has clout. She is like when he's like, "Oh, we're taking a detour," and then other people are like, "What are we doing?" He was
just like, "Follow,"
He's like, "Follow, shut up and follow her." Like everyone, it's like Furiosa tells him to jump. They say, "Yo, how high?"
And so one of Joe's sons, the one that's in the chair, like kind of as the watcher, the observer, notices that she's taking a detour. Yeah. So immediately Joe says, "What's going on?" So he runs back and he has this vault. Where he keeps his prize breeders. Or whatever.
His wives.
His wives.
He has like 5 wives.
And they are gone. And I guess they're madam or like the woman that looks over them.
Yes, Miss Giddy. Miss Giddy. Who can't pull a shotgun trigger.
You see on the floor is written, and I wrote it down, it's "Our babies will not be warlords."
Yep.
And then on the wall, it was who
destroyed the world, or who killed the world. Who killed the world, or whose fault is it the world was destroyed.
And so you see that, and kind of at the same time, one of the wives is like, they've been hiding under the, under the
in the caravan. It's I think because there's so they're in this rig. It's basically a big, 16-wheeler with spikes and extra wheels and everything. There's all these other souped up cars. Mad Max is very big on cars. Everything is just a super souped up car. It's
this whole movie was basically like the space race from The Last Jedi.
Except better because Last Jedi.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, we don't need to talk about Last Jedi right now. But just huge, like big rigs. Everything's crazy in cars. And as Mike was saying, one of the wives just crawls along, and you're like, oh, they're trying to get away.
Yeah. So once Furiosa, like you said, she worked her way up the ranks. And once she got to be the one to drive the big rig, she took that opportunity to help release his wives. And that's so that they're escaping. But so immediately, Joe rallies up his war boys. Is like, we got to go get them. And that's where you see Nux. His
Split.
Split.
I fucking hate Split. Split's a dick. Split is the Split.
Joker
star. It's Split or Slit. Honestly, it sounds like it changes a couple times in the movie. It really does. That was from my point is Mad Max gets called Pa or Max by some of the ghosts, a couple by the same ghost. You're like, it's not your dad. What? That doesn't make sense. And then Split. It sounded like they first called him Split, then they call him Slit. It's very similar. But
so like Slit or whatever goes and grabs the steering wheel for the car that he rides with Nux. And Nux is like, there's no way I'm going to be here. And like, they're telling him like, you're too weak. Or whatever. And he was just like, all right, grab my blood bag and strap it to my car. And that's the iconic scene where you have Tom Hardy playing Mad Max strapped to the front of a car. And then like he's like tethered to Nux as an IV.
Yeah, he has like an IV sticking right here out of his neck, and like it's
and a muzzle on.
Yeah, and a muzzle. Oh yeah, because when they were even talking, like Slit, it's like you can't bring him. He's got a muzzle on. He's feral. Meanwhile, these guys have him tied in a cage, and they're like taking blood from him, and they're like, "Oh no, this guy.
Yeah, we murder people, but we're not this guy.
Yeah, no, this guy. He's feral." But then Nux is like, "Nah, V8, high octane blood," and you're like, "All right, all right, buddy." Cool.
And so, like, another thing before we get to the car, it was just like talking about how brainwashed all these war boys are. So just like Nux was like, "There's no way I'm going to miss out on this hunt to get Furiosa." He was like, "If I'm going to die, that's another one." I think that was from the trailer. Or it was What a Lovely Day, which was I think also the tagline. But it was just like, if I'm going to die, it's going to be on Fury Road.
Yeah, because it's like Valhalla, right? Like so Norse mythology, warriors who die in battle are carried to Valhalla where they will live forever in like permanent, because in like perfection, because all of the war boys just about, and I mean, again, nuclear war, they have half-lives. That's what they say. They all have half-lives. A ton of disease is just racking all these people. No one lives very long. So what Immortan Joe has done is he controls the water, and he's put this religious fanaticism on people, being like, if you follow me, you will go to Valhalla, the promised land, and just has used his religion and resources to pacify the masses and make all of them listen to him. But
so yes, we have Immortan Joe's caravan in the hunt of Furiosa.
Yes,
and while that's also happening, so we have Max in the in the fray now, chasing Furiosa with Nux and Split, and then you have Furiosa gets ambushed by like the buzzards. The buzzards.
They're the buzzards.
Like, they say, what are they doing in our area or something like that. So like they attack,
and those are like little porcupine dudes in cars. Like all of them, they're just super spiky. Like, so you have Immortan Joe, the Citadel, and you have their allies, the guzzaline people and the bullet farmers, and then off to the side are still like the buzzards. So there's like a ton of factions. This is a huge world with a lot of different factions. All of them want to kill everybody and take everything they can. So while Furiosa is being hunted by Immortan Joe and his allies, you have the buzzards attacking. And then this is when you get to see that, like, I guess warfare. Yes.
In a car,
like car warfare, man. Warfare.
Yeah. Also, like, oh fuck, I didn't bring it up, but it was just like you have like Immortan Joe's caravan. You got the guy on the fucking guitar.
Yeah, the guitar dude.
Like the people, like guys waving in the air. Like it's like just interesting how they decided to, like, once again, this is, you asked no questions. You just entered into the world.
This is what they do here. So when they go, instead of little drummer boys and trumpeteers like they had in like the Civil War and like the Revolutionary War, they have this dude on a guitar shredding and shooting flames. Like, it's just crazy.
Insane. Like, so like, you have the buzzards attacking. So like, and that's crazy.
They fight them off. So the Citadel people with Furiosa, they still think they're all on the same side right now. They're like, cool, we're listening to Furiosa. So you see Furiosa and her Citadel people fight off the buzzards.
Yes. And then after the buzzards are gone, you have Immortan Joe, I think it's Nux and a few other people, they catch up to Furiosa. And then that's when the people with Furiosa realize, oh, something's wrong.
What have you done? He like grabs her by the neck, like, what have you done? Yeah.
And then like, so like there's the fighting, fighting off. Now she's fighting off Immortan Joe's, horde. And I think her thought is to escape them through a huge sandstorm.
Yes.
And so like,
actually, quick pause just before we get that. So we even have, when they're fighting the buzzards, we see another example of that religious fanaticism that comes in.
Yes.
Because this one guy, he's like getting the buzzards off of Furiosa's war rig, the giant 16-wheeler. And then he gets a bolt through here. So you can see it sticking out the back of his head and another in his chest. And he's like, oh, that. Ugh. But then he takes out this silver spray can, sprays his mouth, and then he's like, witness me! And all the other war boys do this little like, witness! And then he jumps with two explosives, because car warfare, what they do is all the cars drive, they have these people going around and pick other people out of the cars, and then they just have explosives and guns, and you apparently can have chainsaws attached to cars swinging around, all while they're driving. So then he jumps in the air with these two explosive spears, and then just blows up the buzzard, and like he gets, and all the other war boys are like, witness! And this is also why Slit's a dick, because he said it's mediocre. How dare you, Slit? That man, Morsov, I think it was Morsov was his name. Like, he knew he was dying. He did what he could, and Slit's over here like, mediocre! And Slit.
So as they're going into, everybody's preparing to go into the sandstorm.
Yes, the sandstorm.
And Nux is like, all right, no, I got to stop her. So like he gains a little bit of, gets a little bit in front of her, and is gonna blow it up. So like to stop her, and so what he does is he does the chrome thing, chrome thing on the mouth. And Max realizes this. It was like, oh hell no! So like, he prevents him from sacrificing himself, and then like the car, like you see them enter the the sandstorm, and this is another as far as visually, just like what's going on in the sandstorm, like
which is
obviously
crazy.
it's just like things are being set on fire because like
you have lightning, a red camera filter on everything, the lightning, the sandstorm. It's beautiful. It really is. Like you were just you go in the sandstorm and you're like, okay, I get it. People are dying. This is really bad. God, it's pretty. Yeah, it's so really pretty. It's so
you
pretty.
Could just take a moment.
Yeah, just take a moment. Just like that's sand in my mouth. But other than that, this is great.
So yeah, like you see inside the sandstorm, and then like
that's where you get it's a lovely day. That's where
you get what a lovely day.
What a lovely day. And there's this little bobblehead figure on the car who's just like nodding his head really. It's awesome. It is. It's awesome.
So then like Max prevents Nux from blowing himself up and stopping the rig or whatever, and then it just cuts to black. Everybody like, kind of like
car collapses. He stops, and so then all of a sudden the car like which. It's ridiculous Max survives. Exactly. You literally see the car roll on top of him and him fly off screen, but somehow he survives it. Cool. So then it's fine.
He wakes up, and it was like it's covered in sand. Yep. And immediately he pulls out the IV from his neck. Yeah. But he realizes because of the mask
and the chains,
he's still chained to Nux. Mm-hmm. So this is what I was saying about like survival and like no hesitation. So like immediately he sees that he can't unlock the chain.
Yes,
Nux absolutely. Is passed out. Yeah. So he realizes he can't unlock the chain. So immediately he finds a gun and just goes to shoot off his arm.
He's just like Nux's arm. And he's just like, I'm just going to shoot off Nux's arm. And it
like no hesitation. Immediately pulls the trigger, but the
misfire because of all the sand.
Yes. Yeah. So then he's gonna like
he tries to bite through the hand with the muzzle. He's wearing a muzzle. He clearly can't do anything, and he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll just bite through the man's arm. He can't because muzzle.
So he can't get through. So like right before he's still trying to bite through the hand, and he hears banging.
Yes,
and it's Furiosa who's also survived.
She had to stop in the sandstorm.
In the sandstorm to like I think there's like an air filter or something like that on the truck. Mm-hmm. And so he goes to see that. So he carries Nux to the truck or whatever, and then we see the 5 wives, and they're like cleaning themselves off, and then cutting off. I didn't realize it until later in the scene, but they were cutting off like chastity belts.
Yes, the chastity belt. Yeah, because Mort and Joe put chastity belts on everybody.
And so like he comes up, and this is where you see this kind of like survival mode. Yeah. He points a gun at them, and he just says water. Yeah. Very, very parched, but he says water.
Because for a second, he's like taken aback for a second, right? Because in all the Mad Max movies, and because he's an action hero, he is a survivor for sure. Mm-hmm. But every Mad Max movie, he gets drawn into helping people. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of like his base instinct, but he only helps good people. So for this entire thing of him running away and being like a feral, crazy madman in the sand, he like you see for a second when he sees like the 5 women who aren't a threat to him and who aren't trying to attack him immediately upon sight, he like does one of these. Yeah. But then survival mode kicks in and he points the gun. Also, great bluff. That gun don't work. They don't know. But so he points the gun. He's like,
they're like, buddy, be cool. Come on.
Wait, so he's like, all right, survival mode. I need water, and then I need you to like cut through this chain.
And so like, one of the wives comes over, brings some water, and he gets his fill, and then like he just doesn't even say anything. He just pulls the chain. Yeah. Because he sees that they have
the bolt cutters.
Yeah. So like another wife comes over, and then in the background on the horizon, you see
Furiosa.
No, you see the cars.
Oh yeah, like, you see the cars coming.
They're coming. Yeah. So obviously like Modem Joe's people have also survived.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so like she Furiosa uses a distraction for the bolt cutters to attack, like come up, just attack him, and it's
full on football tackle.
It's a very interesting fight because Furiosa doesn't have so she only has one arm.
Yep, she's an amputee. She has missing this.
So like she's taken off her little prosthetic, so she doesn't have that. Mm-hmm. And Max is chained to Nux, so it's just like a very interesting fight where like it's just intense between them, and then it's very like interesting as far as like fight choreography where you're using all of like the environments.
Absolutely.
So it's like you see like them pulling
like the Max chain. Pulls the chain to trick people, stuff as people are falling.
And then like the wives start to help and they start pulling on the chain if he gets the upper hand on Furiosa, and then like she gets out for a bit, and like because it's her truck, she has like weapons stashed over.
Right?
So like she gets a gun that's on the side of the truck, and
which is like hidden in a pot. It's like
Yeah.
a ceramic little indentation on this truck, and she's like, I know what that is. She punches it, and there's a gun there, of course.
So like immediately he gets the clip out, but obviously it's one in the chamber.
Yeah.
So like she narrowly misses him, and then like Nux has woken up at this point.
Yep.
And he's trying to help. He's trying to help Mad Max because of the fact that he's still loyal to Joe.
Yeah,
and
to
like
Joe here,
so,
yeah.
and Furiosa is a traitor. So like, he's trying to bring her in. So like he helps, Max like by holding off the wives and like getting the clip.
Yeah.
So the crazy scene is like Max finally gets the upper hand on Furiosa.
Yep.
Like puts her on her stomach, climbs on her back, puts the clip in, and just shoots three bullets around her head, and then puts the gun in the back of her head.
Just wasting all this ammunition. If you're a survivor, you shouldn't be wasting ammo like that. But
but it was just like a crazy intense scene as far as like the fighting, and then like they kind of like they release him from the chains or whatever.
Yeah, because he gets Nux to cut the chain.
Yeah, Nux cuts the chains. He punches them. He's like,
because Nux is all like, yes, together now. Let's take the wives back. You can have whatever you want. And Max is like, give me my jacket. Because Nux is wearing the man's jacket.
So he takes his boot. He takes his jacket and his boot.
Yeah.
And then he gets in the truck.
Yeah. That's when he just punches Nux. He's just like, boom, full out, lays Nux out with a punch. And then he's just like, F all y'all. Even the like women, Nux, I don't care. And he hops in the truck.
Yeah. So then he hops in the truck, and Furiosa's like, I mean, that's fine. She knows that she's the only one that can actually get the truck running.
Has kill switches on.
The kill switches and everything. So, like, the truck stops. She negotiates with him. And I think I didn't realize this until you brought it up earlier. This kind of his inherent want to help people.
Yeah.
So, like, initially, he's just like, all right, you can get into Furiosa. But she was like, I won't go without them.
Yep. Yeah.
And so everybody gets in, and they start driving.
Yeah. Actually, just because it'll come up too, Max did accidentally shoot one of the wives a little bit. Like he scratched her leg. It wasn't crazy.
Oh, when she tried to walk away.
Yeah, when she tried to walk away and he did a shot, it like just skimmed her leg. So that's now bleeding. So that Furiosa also uses that and says, you just injured one of his wives. Like he don't mess with you anymore after that. Yeah.
So then they drive off, and so now you see the Immortum Joe's people. You see the people now. You see the people from Gastown also coming.
Yeah,
but they're still driving. So like
the people eater dude with this big fat dude with this big like
golden
nose thing. The people eater.
And so before they can catch up, you see they get to this like I guess the
valley, the canyon.
That's what
the canyon.
And because Furiosa has made a deal with them to, I guess, like destroy it so that nobody can get past.
Yeah, Furiosa, she has a thing of gasoline, like this big tanker of gasoline. She's going to leave with the, because now you have the buzzards, and this is a new faction of just the mountain scavengers who all have like dirt bikes, and that'll come into play in a second. So she's like, cool, I'll leave the gasoline here, and then you blow up the rocks behind me so they can't keep following us. But since there's all the people following Furiosa and stuff has gotten messed up, they're like, whoa, this wasn't part of the deal. So this is the first time you see Furious and Max work together.
Yes, I was going to say that because initially she asked him, like, so like when they make their deal, she's trying to like be like reasonable, and he's like he wouldn't even give her his name, and then she's like, and then also like forgot talking about them not trusting one another, like. He raids the entire cabin of the truck
to get like
for all her weapons.
Yeah, and there's like 6 in random spots, and he still doesn't find all of them.
Yeah. But yeah, so like once she gets out, she's like, her whole thing was, because talk about her redemption, we'll talk about it later, but she just wants to make sure that these women get set free.
Yep, absolutely.
So she was like, I know you don't trust me, but she gave him the code for the kill switch.
Yep, because you need to drive.
Just keep driving.
Yeah, because at this point, they're like, they don't really trust each other, but they're like, yo, we need to rely on each other to survive this. We'll figure it out.
And so, like, the deal goes south while Furiosa's out of the car. She does drop off the gas, though.
Not yet.
She doesn't?
Nah, not yet, because it explodes later.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I just thought fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's outside of the cab or whatever, and she gets back. So
she yells "fool."
Yeah. The deal goes. Because he won't give her his name.
Yeah. Since he won't give her his name, she's like, "Fine, I'll call you fool." And then she goes out to try and negotiate. And then when it starts going south, she's like, "Fool!" And that's Max's signal to start driving and go away. So she hops in there. So the guys, the scavenger people on the bike, see the warlord party coming. Yeah. So they still fulfill their part of the deal and blow up the rocks a little bit. And then you have that. So right now you still have the tanker of gasoline coming.
Okay.
And then you get the new fight sequence, which is them versus the mountain people.
Yes.
Because all the mountain people have these bikes. And that's also a crazy thing. With the buzzards, they had saws and spikes. With the mountain bike people, they're all just doing wheelies on top of one another and dropping grenades on the damn thing. And then you have Furiosa and Max just working together like they've been doing this their whole lives. Of like Furiosa pops up, bang, bang, bang. Max like pokes his head out because Max is driving. He pokes his head out the window, shoots the dude. Very hard shot with a handgun, by the way. A man in a motorcycle flying over a truck. I can't make that shot.
Yeah.
And he just pop, 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 and they fall. So continuing from that too, while that fight's going on, Immortan Joe and the rest of the caravan, they've now come up to the valley.
Yeah, but they're stuck in the canyon because they blocked it off.
Yeah, it's collapsed. So just Immortan Joe now is going. So he's like, all right, well, fine. And you just get like this crazy four-wheel action up this like super. I'm like, that car can't make it up there, but it does, and it goes through. So now Immortan Joe is chasing after them while they're fighting.
And this is where this was also interesting too, like not having the female characters just play kind of damsels in distress. You also, I mean, obviously Furiosa's the badass.
Yeah.
But even the wives are like helping. Like you have Zoe Kravitz loading the gun.
For a second, you get like in between with them. Of like
it's a bit,
which is cool, which is a really cool part because Furiosa badass as anything. Like the entire time you're like, cool, Furiosa's a warlord. She gets it. She knows. Furiosa needs someone to reload the gun.
Yeah, you have like she gave it to one of the wives. And like Zoe Kravitz like,
Splendid.
Come on, girl, stop playing.
Yeah, because Splendid is the pregnant one who Immortan Joe really wants. Anghora Splendid or Splendid Anghora. They again 2 names for her. It's definitely both of those. But she like tries to get the gun and she's like, I don't know what to do with this. And then Zoe Kravitz is like, what? Give me that. And then starts loading it. But then they all have little things they can do. So, but in this fight, and that's where that gas came, is now that's kind of closes off the fight with the bandit people. Is that gas thing that was going behind finally now falls off and then it explodes. So now you have Immortan Joe
and the
rig of Furiosa, and Immortan Joe's chasing him. And this is where Splendid gets badass.
Yes,
because Immortan Joe is driving up and he's aiming at Furiosa.
And she pokes her head out of the cab to say, and obviously you see she's pregnant. There's one of those things where like he doesn't want to endanger her because she could possibly having his son. And so
not
like
possibly she's pregnant.
Well, they didn't know if it was a boy or girl.
It's true. They didn't know boy or girl.
So like she stands up to him basically, and so he backs off a bit. Still chasing, but puts his gun down. And then like there's like I think also they had taken off the steering wheel, so like it was hard to drive. And so like they kind of crash into a rock while she's still outside the cab, but she quick enough to dodge it. But like you said, he had shot her before.
It's Max's fault.
Grazed her, so her foot was bloody, and she slips off the cab and gets rolled over by Immortan Joe.
And Immortan Joe, he tries. I mean, kudos to Immortan Joe of not giving a crap about anyone else in this car because he just yanks it out. He still like runs over her, but like then you see like 4 dudes fly out of this car, including Immortan Joe's other son, Rictus. Like you see him, and like apparently Rictus is totally fine too. Like rolling out of exploding cars is not a big deal.
But now he's you see him like so they drive off. Because Immortan Joe stops to mourn and check on Splendid, you said?
Splendid. But the other wives call her Anghora. But then
maybe that's because that's her name, and she refuses to go by the name that he gave her.
Immortan Joe calls her Splendid. But that was a great like crazy thing of like Immortan Joe's driving up. He's like, Splendid, that's my property, Splendid. And you're just like, holy crap. Again, of just this world is crazy, and like I believe every word of it. It's just you could tell me whatever, and like here I am, man.
But so they drive off, and like he kind of mourns, and you find out like they check her out, and it was like she was gonna have a son. So now he's like really, really pissed.
It was perfect in every way. He was gonna have a baby brother. So Rictus does a phenomenal job providing exposition because they kind of play up again. He's mentally retarded. So it was just like, I was going to have a baby brother. And like, before that, the doctors in this too, I like to put movies on subtitles sometimes. So out of nowhere, doctors in this world too are called organic mechanics. That's literally their name. Because you don't have medical technology anymore. You have organic mechanics.
I feel like that's when you make up a fucking a role on Indeed or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just make it up. Because, and dude, 100% when they're like getting the baby, they like really up this man's grossness. He's
it was like he was checking her oil or something like that.
It was just like, so he was like, so basically Splendid is dying, Anghora's dying. And then Rictus is like, hey, get the baby out of there, because he's listening with this old timey, like 1820s, stethoscope, which is basically like, imagine like a horn. Okay, I can hear. He's like, oh, it's getting quiet in there. And then Immortan Joe's like, get him out of there. So then again, with the grossness of the organic mechanic, he's like licking his lips and sharpening his like, and he's like drooling a little bit while he's doing it. And I was like, dude, that's nasty, because he's about to cut this woman open so he can get the baby out. And even after he does that, that's where he says like, well, another month, it would have been a human. And then it would have been perfect, a boy, perfect in every way. So then you get Rictus yelling that out, repeating it, Mr. Exposition.
So the truck goes on. I think you get...
They're in the bog.
They're in the bog. So Furiosa is talking about, I think, their plan. They're trying to get to the green place or something like that.
They want to go we hear the green place now.
Which is where she's from. And then that's when you find out that she was, kidnapped or abducted from where she was. That's she's not from the Citadel at all. And then, they get trapped in the bog, which is another dope scene. So, you have one of Joe's generals.
Yeah, the bullet farmer. So he's in charge of the bullet farmer. Yeah, okay. So you have People Eater, and it's the factions. People Eater's gasoline. He's a big fat guy. And also with this too, you get another look at People Eater, as if like the fact he was kind of grotesquely obese and the gold nose isn't enough. He also has like nipple piercings connected by a chain. And you're like, I was just like, bro, what? Like, that's a detail.
That was Hellraiser.
Yeah, he's like, that's just a detail. So then Rictus doesn't want to keep going because he's mourning his son and Anghara dying. But the bullet farmer is this old dude, and he's like, you handle your family drama. I'll go and find the people. And
so he just
he's one of my favorite characters.
He had a car full of people. But he just rides ahead and he's like start firing. So like
just probing.
Furiosa, once again, badass. She has like I guess a sniper rifle of some sort. Puts it on Max's shoulder
because he misses twice.
Yeah, he misses twice, and she says, "Don't breathe."
Yeah,
and so like they have a light, obviously because it's it's a bog, it's nighttime.
Yeah,
and she just fires, shatters the light, and all the shrapnel goes into his eyes, and now he's blind, and now he's really pissed.
Yeah,
and so like while they're doing this, they found out that Nux stowed away in the car.
Yeah,
but now he's kind of like. After talking to one of the other wives, you see his mind kind of changing about.
Oh, crap. Yeah, actually, here, let's pause and go back a little bit. So in the Immortan Joe scene, when they were going through the canyon, Nux was on the truck from everything that happened earlier. He had a piece of one of the wives' clothing, so he joined Joe on the car to now come over. Well... This is why it's mediocre. So then he's going along. He's like, all right, Joe, I can jump across and get your wives. So he jumps onto this is before Splendid gets run over. Nux hops onto the other car and then just immediately falls. Yeah. Immediately, he also has the chains from when he was attached to Max. So he immediately falls over, drops the gun that Immortan Joe gave him, and is now hanging off from the side. And that's when... Immortan Joe's like mediocre,
and then I was like, obviously, if that's somebody you see as your god,
he's just now, devastated.
Has not forsaken you, but like seeing you as less than.
Yes. So then that was why he stowed away, because he stayed on the truck, and he was just very sad and like cradled. Yeah. So in between going to the bog and that, he talked with another one of the wives, and she comforted him. You learn he has these two tumors on his neck, Larry and Barry, or Larry and Joe. He drew like little smiley faces on it, and he's like casually talking about this, like he's not like, well, either Larry and Barry will kill me or the night fevers will, and you're just like, holy crap. So then that's why he's still on the truck in general.
Yeah, so he helps them get the truck out of the bog. Yep. And they get it out, but then the guy from the bullet farm is still chasing them. So Max says, I'm going to go handle this. And then Furiosa's like, well, what if you don't come back? And he was like, then keep going.
Keep going. What? Dumb question. Yeah, do you want to survive or not?
So Max handles them, takes all of their weapons, because now I realize that it was a bullet farm. That's why he had all the weapons.
Yes, that's why he had all the guns.
Takes all their guns, their weapons, and their steering wheel.
Yes.
Because, like we said earlier, that's why
they didn't have a wheel. Yeah.
Splendid died because they didn't have a steering wheel at the time. So they get the steering wheel. They're on their journey. They get to a spot, and then I guess they see a woman on an outpost,
and that's where you get the meme where like Tom Hardy's pointing, like, "That's bait,"
and so like it's just this naked woman like on the top was like screaming for help.
Yeah,
and Tom Hardy goes, "That's clearly bait." So Furiosa gets out, and she says, this is my home.
Yeah,
like
I'm one of the something mothers."
And so the woman recognizes her and calls for her, like, because obviously it was a trap. Yeah. And she calls for her friend, but she does that. It's like, don't do anything to them. So you get to meet the remaining all mothers. Right?
Yeah, the remaining mothers.
And so like they, they catch up with the women. They're obviously very, very wary of men, like Nux and Mad Max. And then they haven't seen women like the wives before.
Yes.
So they're kind of like, taking
like, oh, how are you so soft? Where are you coming from? Because these are all like grizzled older ladies who have been living in the desert, and like you can tell, like it's been hard on them. Like it is. They have weathered faces, and they have just like the sand is caked on them. Yeah. So they're just like, where are these like smooth, soft skinned women coming from?
And then you find out that they are all that's left of the
mothers. There's like mothers, 5 of them. Yeah.
And then, Furiosa says, I can't wait to show them the green place. Yes. And it was like, well, if you came from the west, you already passed it. And then earlier on, as they were driving through the bog area, or whatever, you see, and this is like talking about like them giving you the world and not saying anything. So like they're just in a bogland. It's very dark. And you see these like, talking about the sparrows again, or the birds, like we talked about. There's like these guys in like feathered cloaks, like on stilts, because they can't walk through the bogs. And she tells Furiosa that that was the green place. But the water, we didn't have any water, and the land was bad.
The water got salted. Everything was bad.
And so now Furiosa is like just devastated. Yep. She's like, well, I wanted to bring these women to this, and we lost so much along the way, and. So there's that, and there's that scene where she's kind of all is lost. So it's like, now what do we do? So they decide we're gonna leave the rig and we're gonna load up motorcycles as much as we can and just drive off into the desert for
to look for something.
Yeah, and then she was like, because and obviously this is that turn too, where like they've gone through stuff, right? Yeah. Even her asking her, do you want us to like wait for you and stuff like that? So like she says. One of the motorcycles is for you,
for Max
to do, for Max, so to do whatever you would like. And so he says, "I'll find my own way." Still that kind of survival mode.
Yep. He's like, "Cool, I've done my job."
I think he slept on it, and as they're getting ready to leave, he says, "Well, why? You can go back in that desert for X amount of days. You'll find nothing, and it'll just be pointless. Why not go back?" Yeah. And then he gives him the idea that like, well, Joe brought all of his contingency with him. The only thing left in the Citadel is the people, and a few of his like younglings or whatever. But no, there's no army there anymore.
Yeah, in the Citadel, there's like it's undefended.
And it was just like if you cave in the canal.
You go through the canyon. Go through the canyon. See, words are hard.
I know words and stuff.
So if you go through the canyon and then blow it, then none of them will be able to follow through. Yes. The Citadel will be completely unguarded. They can now take the Citadel. Citadel has water and green already, and the mothers, they have seeds. They had a farm, so they used to have seeds, and that's what they were trying to do again. So then Max sees a vision of one of the other little ghosts who are haunting him, and that's also what gives him that idea. And he also has this really good line of, hope is dangerous.
No, hope is a mistake.
Hope is a mistake.
If you can't fix what's broken, you'll go insane. And that's basically just saying, like, you shouldn't just hope about something and not do anything about it because nothing will get done. So him saying that to Furiosa, and then I think with the little girl ghost who's like haunting him, who makes him like, she like goes, wah, and like he does one of these, kind of makes him realize, okay, this is something we can do instead. Yeah. So and then you get the final actions where they take the rig and they drive back.
Yep.
And now it's like you see like a Mortem Joe like still he's out somewhere in the desert.
For some reason
this morning they stopped chasing them.
Yeah.
So like one of the his lookouts sees the rig going back.
Yep.
He immediately realizes they're going back to the Citadel.
Yeah, because he realized, like, crap, Citadel's unguarded. They're going for it.
So, like, it's this huge chase, and it was like you get more of the different, like, rigs that they have in order to stop cars while
plenty more guitar. That's important too.
Way more guitar. You have Mad Max. He beats up and kills the guy with the nose.
Oh yeah, the people eater.
Yeah. So many, like, a lot of the All Mothers die, but they kind of go out.
Yeah.
And like badass ways.
Yeah, I did feel it because they literally, they're like, okay, yeah, we can do this together. And by the end, like, one All Mother,
I think it was two,
maybe two. Maybe two. Yeah. Like, the really nice one with the seeds, she dies because she gets chainsawed in the neck. Yeah. You get the other one who was the one that recognized Furiosa. Yeah. She's like the first to die. Well, she's like the second.
That's what I was like, I don't know what she was doing.
Yeah, like why?
She literally threw one stick and then her motorcycle fell over.
Well, the dude hit. So like she
but it was like, still, she did one thing.
Yeah, one thing. And I was like, she didn't have to go out like that, man. Like, and because again, she ducked, she was fine, and the people eater ran her over, which was just a brutal scene. Yeah. So they keep going through the canyon. After all this battling back and forth, all of the wives, ex-wives now, I should say, of Mort and Joe all have a chance to redeem themselves a little bit. They've all done cool things, including the one who kept trying to run back to Rictus. Yeah. She's like, or not Rictus, to Mort and Joe. Yeah. And she's like, Rictus, I want to come back. But she uses that as a way to help Furiosa and other people. Yeah. And then, so they keep going. Furiosa kills Mort and Joe by ripping off his mask.
That was insane. So she gets stabbed.
Yep. Yeah.
And like, so once again it's interesting. Like, she has kind of that same mentality as some of the War Boys. It was just like she has to go out.
Yeah.
In a kind of a blaze of glory. So she tells Nux she said, I need you to drive.
Yep.
And so, like, she gets out of the car and like she jumps on the back of a Mort and Joe's car, and she gets to the window with like this spear of some sort, and she goes, remember me or something.
Yeah.
And then he kind of like says like what, or like kind of like yells at her.
He has this like guttural growl. It's like an animal growl, like an animal.
And
roar.
then she sticks, because once again he has this
breathing apparatus
on. She sticks it in his the breathing apparatus, and then sticks it to the
chain gets wrapped around the wheels,
and it just rips out of his face.
Because you can see at this time too, it's like it's screwed into his face. Yeah. Like there are actual screws into like his jawbone, because he's that messed up after the nuclear war.
So then like shortly after that, so like they all get in his car.
Yep.
And then but Nux stays behind
because of Rictus.
Yep. And he's just like, I'm gonna set this back and then I'll see you.
Yep.
But it's once again one of those things where like he, like, Rictus, being the jacked Bane-like creature he is, rips the fucking engine out of the truck. Yeah. And like, as everything's on fire, so like Nux looks at the wife that he had
the redheaded one
gotten to know, and he goes, witness me.
Oh god.
But it's not he doesn't go to the chrome thing or anything.
No, he like points at her. Yeah. I almost cry. Yeah. Everyone's crying at this point in time. He points and he's like, witness me. Yeah. And then because he was said at first he was going to join him, Rictus, as Mike said, rips off the engine. Witness me. Then he cranks the wheel, crashes the truck. Huge explosion, completely brings down the canyon. Yeah. Tears of him, as I said.
So obviously they're driving back to the Citadel, and like Furiosa had been stabbed, and now she's like mortally wounded. So first, like she's breathing weird.
Yep.
Because her
lung collapse.
Yeah. So like he takes a knife. Once again, the medicine in these times. I don't know how any of them.
That's actually fun fact. That's true. If a lung of yours has collapsed from like an injection, like a puncture wound here, you puncture it on the other side, and that'll relieve pressure, so then it can like not be collapsed anymore.
Yeah. So he does that, and she
I'd say just go to a doctor.
And then like she passes out, and like once again, him being a universal donor. He links up with her again and gives her blood or whatever. And then he tells her his name. Yeah. And
injects like a thing this big into both their veins. It's gross. Anyway. But yes, then he's like, my name is Max.
He tells her the name back. And then so they get back to the Citadel.
Yep.
And like in Immortum Joe's car, so they assume it's him. Mm-hmm. But they have him strapped to the hood of the car.
Yep.
And then they take off
Max rips it off.
Rips off the sheet where they were hiding him, and they see Immortum Joe's dead.
Face all ripped up, all kinds of messed up.
And then like you see this, like the people kind of cheer and rejoice, because obviously they're not following him because they want to. Like he's a tyrant. So Then they let them up to the citadel where the green in the water is, and then immediately they release the water.
Yeah,
and
the breeders do, all like the women that were getting milked earlier,
and then like as Furiosa and the women are being lifted up, and even some of the people are being lifted up to the citadel.
Yeah.
You see that Max isn't on the lift; he is down on the ground, and they kind of look at each other, and then he kind of just disappears off.
Yeah, doing
and it was
what
like
Max does.
That's the end of the movie. It was like amazing.
Yeah, then Max like slips away. Max just slips away off into the distance, and it's like there you have it. So, as a way to close out, Mike, in this review, did your earlier rating of this movie change?
No, it was definitely. So, like I said, initially I think I was going to give it a 4.5 because of I had a few qualms with some of the acting, but no, it was just like since it was so action packed and just kept going because it was like 2 hours long, but it didn't feel it. No. I mean, I guess certain parts it did, like when they weren't on the roads. It did kind of slog, but like no, the action, the story, like everything was just like so heart pumping that like definitely a 5.
Yeah. After this, in case y'all can't tell, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I'm an ultra fan. No, but it's a phenomenal movie. It really is. Highly recommend everyone go see it if you haven't. Obviously, you might need to be a little older. It's very violent for the kids. But yeah, it's great. I love this movie. It's an amazing world. I could watch it again right now. I really could. So yeah. So that was episode 2, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Before we sign out, if you'd like to reach out to me at any time, or actually for us, we are the Two Rambling Kids. Two Meddling Kids. My apologies.
On Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter and Instagram, we are the Two Meddling Kids. That is our @. Feel free. If you have any movies you'd like us to review or watch, you just want to interact in any way, feel free. Hit us up at any time. One of us will get back to you. If you'd like to reach out to just me personally, my Instagram and Facebook, or Instagram and Twitter is edhunt77. Facebook's Edward Hunt. You can find me there too, I guess. But edhunt77. What else do I have going on? I'm still trying to write my comic. I need to find this artist. I sent it out to a couple people, and they've ghosted me. So if you are an artist and you think you want to write a comic or draw a comic that I'm writing, I'd love to have you on it. And again, any real estate needs, feel free to hit me up. Mike, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram at Days from Legendary. You can find me on Facebook if you must.
Yeah, right.
At Mike Douglas.
Yeah.
Other than that, hit us up on the Two Meddling Kids the social media.
Perfect. All right, y'all. Episode 3 should be Wakanda Forever. We'll see you next week.